when do we start doing Roth conversions, Mark? Right? That's a big question. We get asked that all the time.
Yep.
And the real answer is yesterday, right? The sooner we can do it, the better.
Right.
Now, it has to still be strategic, right?
Yes.
And the benefit with Roth is that it's really that time in the account. So if we can pay taxes at today's rates and let that money continue to grow over a 15, 20, 25-year period, the more benefit we're going to have from that. And so that's why we say yesterday is the right time to do it. But ultimately, it still has to be strategic. We don't want to back ourselves into a corner where we've done a Roth conversion and we're not ready to deal with the tax burden that comes with that, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, if we're already at the top of a current tax bracket, we want to be careful about pushing ourselves into the next tax bracket, because even though we may be paying taxes at today's rates, if in the future those rates for us are similar to what they are today,
right,
because our bracket hasn't gone up, then we're really not netting the benefit of that. But it is a conversation that each of us has to have.
And one of the things that we run into, a lot of clients are hesitant. And one of the main reasons is they believe come retirement that they're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Now, what we find most of the time when we run income analysis, we'll run cash flow, it usually isn't the case. We want every client realistically to have anywhere from 80 to 100% of what income they had just before they retired. And that is especially going to be true if they still have a mortgage.
Right.
So there's so many pieces to getting this right. But a Roth conversion is absolutely one of the best things that we can do if we want to reduce our future tax liability, right? So that, again, it boils down to, do I have any kind of a plan that's going to help me decide when to do it and if I'm going to do it. And one of the other things you mentioned is you need to have money, and we like to say non-qualified money, right? We don't want to be pulling money from that taxable account, that tax deferred account, to pay the tax that we're going to do when we do that conversion. So do you have some other money to be able to pay the tax that we're going to have due that year? And that needs to be a big part of the planning process.
Yeah, it has to. And you touched on something that I think is so important, and it's about how much income people have in retirement. I think this is something that's so misunderstood out in the world. Many folks think that for some reason in retirement, their income is going to be so much less, or that it needs to be less, right? And ultimately, think about it from this perspective. Now that we've retired, we have more time than we used to do the things that we've been dreaming of, that we've been planning of for our retirement. What does it take to do those things? It takes money, right? So we have a lot of clients that actually need more money in retirement to go live the retirement that they've been planning. And so when we do a Roth conversion, there's not a clear-cut answer, but it is very important to make sure that we're doing it strategically and making sure that that has a large tax benefit over the course of your life and your retirement. That in reality, so many folks think of taxes just in today's thought process, just for this year. But we want to look at taxes on a much larger time frame. What can we do today that has a positive effect for somebody 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now to lower that overall tax burden? And this is where that pain of regret versus the pain of discipline comes in, right? And we talk about that a lot, but it is important to think about that. If we get 15, 20 years in the future from now, and we haven't been efficient with our taxes, with our tax planning and using Roth as a part of that, we're going to have the pain of regret. Whereas today, we could choose to have the pain of discipline and thank ourselves later.
We have kind of a neat saying in our office, and my clients, and Casey's too, they love this when I talk about this. We talk about there's 3 phases to their retirement journey life. You've got the go-go years, you've got the slow-go years, and you've got the no-go years. And so we want our clients to have more money up front, right, when your health is good, because once it slows down, that you can still be doing things, but when you get to the no-go years, why have a bunch of money saved up?
Right.
And now, we want legacy, right, for our children and grandchildren. But again, we want to make sure that our clients are able to do fun things when they have good health. So again, planning for this, and that takes in everything we've been talking about. You need a tax strategy. What's the best time to hit my retirement accounts? Everything that we've been talking with, a plan will make such a difference in that person's life.
We see a lot of people that come in and it's our first time having a conversation with them. And what we begin to realize is that if they've already retired, what we see is that they've started to pare their life down to fit their income or to fit their spending need to their Social Security, right? So here's the income that I have, and I'm going to try and lower my expenses to that. And in turn, that means they lower their lifestyle. And meanwhile, they've got this big pot of money that they could be spending and living their life with, but they're worried about how the taxes are going to affect it. What's inflation going to do? How is the market going to affect their nest egg? And those things, not having a plan, that is what people do. People live a less than retirement because they haven't planned for taxes. They don't know how to strategically do a Roth conversion. Their income isn't what it needs to be. And they don't know how to attack these things, and they get analysis paralysis, right? They're so concerned about how this bucket of money is going to be affected that they do nothing. And they live a retirement that is not what they ever dreamed of. And that is not what we want for any of our clients. And that's why we put a plan together to address all of these concerns, to make sure that people are successful and confident in their retirement.
In fact, Casey mentioned something that's so important. We run into this all the time. People that have been great savers, one of the biggest challenges and hurdles that we have with those clients is getting them to go from being a saver to a spender, right? And it's amazing what a good plan will do, because it's almost like we've given them permission to spend their own money. It isn't what happens, but in their minds, it kind of is, right? Because that plan has now shown them that they can do it. Because one of the greatest fears, in fact, I got a recent study that I love this article. It talked about retirees today are more afraid of running out of money than they are of dying. So again, if you've got a plan and we can show them that their money's going to last for their complete lifetime, they're never going to run out. It's like an Atlas ball gets lifted, and but a lot of folks are slow to want to do a plan, right? We've talked about this before. It's amazing. A lot of people will spend weeks, sometimes months, planning just a vacation for a week, right? But to get them to come in and want to plan a 30 or 40-year retirement, we might as well pull out their wisdom teeth because they don't want to do it. But all I know is over the 4 decades or so I've been doing this, people that have planned end up with a much better and happier retirement because they've got a plan.
Right. And that plan creates confidence, clarity, and independence. And that's what everybody wants when it comes to retirement. We want to feel confident about what we're doing. We want to understand what we're doing, and then ultimately remain dependent through the rest of our lifetime to enjoy that time together, right? And that's so key to have that plan to be able to do it.
In fact, we're having a nice mural basically painted on our wall in when people walk into our office. And what does it say? It basically says, we help good people, to make great decisions so they can enjoy an awesome retirement. That's what it's really all about. We want our clients to have the retirement that we all dream about, we all talk about, but then for a lot of people, it ends up being a fairy tale, right? We don't want it to be a fairy tale. We want it to be real and something that's going to last their retirement journey.